Hello everyone. Today I want to talk to you about the case of Harmony Montgomery, the little girl that disappeared in 2021. She is considered deceased, and her father is now on trial for her murder. So let's just get right into it. Harmony Montgomery, she was born in June of 2014. When she was born, her father, Adam Montgomery, was in prison and did not meet her until she was 11 months old. He was released from prison, from what I understand, in 2015. Harmony was in the care of her mother, Crystal Soray, but had issues throughout, the whole first 5 years of her life, actually. Her mother was badly addicted to drugs. So over the next several years, Harmony would be removed from her mother's care multiple times because of her mother's drug use. And finally, in July of 2018, her mother, Crystal, loses custody, and Harmony is placed in the foster care system. In February of 2019, her father, Adam Montgomery, petitions the court for custody, and he is granted custody of Harmony. From 2015 to 2019, apparently he had had supervised visits with Harmony and had done really well or whatever, and so they granted him custody. According to the court records released in 2019, his wife, Kayla Montgomery, Adam was remarried to Kayla Montgomery. She was Harmony's stepmother, and according to Kayla, Adam killed Harmony in December of 2019. The family was living in the car at the time, and Adam kept, getting very upset because Harmony would have bathroom accidents in her clothing, and it made Adam so mad that he literally beat her to death. Harmony was not reported missing until November of 2021 by her mother. She told the police that she had not seen her daughter in 2.5 years and reports her missing. And at the time, police revealed that authorities, including family services, had visited Montgomery's family in the past, but Harmony was never located. And in January of 2022, Manchester police, this is in New Hampshire, they arrest Adam Montgomery while he's sleeping in a car after he had given contradictory statements about the whereabouts of Harmony. New Hampshire prosecutors say that they have evidence Montgomery showed a pattern of abuse while Harmony was in his custody, allegedly telling his brother that I, quote, bashed her around the house. This is just so disturbing, guys. I know it's hard to get through. Adam Montgomery is charged with 1 count of felony second-degree assault and 1 charge of interference with custody and 2 charges of endangering the welfare of a child. The investigation shifted to homicide, and Adam Montgomery is charged with murder. His trial started this month, and I am going to show a small clip of the prosecutor giving his opening statement via Court TV.
Where is Harmony Montgomery? Where is Harmony? When people across this nation, from Florida all the way up to Alaska and everywhere in between, were looking for Harmony, there's one person who is not. One person. The one person who should have been looking for Harmony was not. Her biological father, that defendant that you saw 2 days ago, he wasn't looking for her, and in fact, he was hoping that she wouldn't be found. His concern was not with finding this innocent 5-year-old girl. His concern was that she would be found, and that his heinous and depraved actions would be brought to light. That's because he was the only person in this world who knows where Harmony is, who knows where her body is, and he was hoping that she would never be found. The one person, the one and only person who murdered Harmony who butchered her body, and who disposed of her like yesterday's trash. This case is about Harmony Montgomery. I don't want that to get lost as we progress throughout this lengthy trial. This case is about Harmony Montgomery, but it's also about the defendant, his actions, his rage, his brutality, and his escalation in violence. The murder of Harmony Montgomery, that was just the beginning of the depraved actions of this defendant and what this case is all about. It's about a man who, for 2 years, evaded apprehension, didn't have to answer for his crimes, had no appreciation or concern about Harmony being missing because he already knew she was dead. For 2 years before the Manchester Police Department initiated their search for Harmony Montgomery, that man got away with murder. His only concern, other than Harmony's body being found, was to keep his wife, Kayla Montgomery, from coming in here and telling you all what he did to her. His heinous actions, his cover-up, what she witnessed. For 2 years, he got away with butchering a 5-year-old girl. And that defendant made sure that Harmony would never be found, that she'd be gone without a trace. You'll see, he believed that if there was no body, there could be no evidence of the horrible things that he did to her, and he would get away with it. And so he went to great lengths to cover up his crime, to cover up beating Harmony to death for a bathroom accident. He went to great lengths to cover up his conduct. Beating Harmony to death because she soiled herself. And he thought that if he destroyed the evidence, what remained of Harmony, if he destroyed Harmony, he could never be charged. And he was careless in this meticulous cover-up. He made mistakes. We're going to hear about those mistakes because it's evidence of his crimes. It's evidence of what he did. So let's talk about the evidence in this case. On December 7th, 2019, the defendant beat Harmony to death because she had a bathroom accident, something she had no control over. She'd peed her pants, and he murdered her in a series of attacks, of brutal strikes that began that morning in the car that she was living out of and ended in the Burger King parking lot that you all saw yesterday on The View. He carried her body with him for months. For months he carried her body, and he discarded her with zero appreciation for the life that he'd taken, just a fear of being caught. And in the months that followed, he beat, he injured, he terrorized the only witness to his crime, the only person that could come in here and tell you what he did. She was his loose end, Kayla Montgomery, his wife. He conditioned Kayla through force and through threats with the purpose of making sure that she would never come in here and tell you what she'd seen, what he did. Beating Harmony to death for another accident, destroying her body, freezing her, thawing her, squeezing the liquid out of her, compressing her body into a bag like this one. Compressing her body into a bag like this one and filling it with lime to further decompose her. Unspeakable things. And this is what he did to the only witness he left alive. She was beaten, she was conditioned, and she was living in fear. She was in a nightmare with no end, while he dragged around Harmony's body for months. And I want to pause here for just a moment. I want to thank all of you for being here. This is going to be a lengthy trial. You're going to hear many difficult things. That's not lost on us. It's not lost on the attorneys that are in this case. So thank you for taking the time out of your lives to come here and listen to the evidence, to judge the evidence. It's necessary. It's a necessary function. And if you listen to the evidence, if you keep an open mind, and if you follow Judge Messer's instructions, you'll understand the timeline of Harmony's death, of the cover-up. You'll understand the horrible things that defendant did, why he assaulted, why he murdered, why he terrorized. And after he was done with all of this, why he destroyed evidence, why he lied, why he blocked his friends and family, why he manipulated his wife into doing terrible things to hide his crime, to hide the victim that he'd murdered. So let's talk about the victim that he murdered, the victim that he made sure couldn't come into this courtroom and tell you the horrible things that he did to her. Her name is Harmony Montgomery. And there are 4 descriptions that you're going to hear of Harmony during the course of this trial, some of them horrible. Harmony was born to the defendant, Adam Montgomery, and her mother, Crystal Sorey. She was born on June 7th of 2014. She was a daughter. She was a sister. She was a Minnie Mouse fan. She was a fun-loving girl that loved being a big sister. She was just 5 years old when the defendant brutally murdered her. During the course of her brief life, she was a fun-loving girl. She was someone that defied all odds. She spent most of her life with Tim and Michelle Rafferty, her foster parents, who she called Daddy and Mommy Michelle. And those odds that she defied. When Tim and Michelle got Harmony, when they got custody of her, she was just 2 months old. And Michelle was told she's not going to live past 7 months, told that she had learning disabilities. And still you'll hear that Harmony was an intelligent girl. She was a curious child. She was a child that ran with other children, played with them. She was potty trained at a very early age. At a very early age, she was potty trained, and that'll become important as we progress throughout this trial, so keep that in mind. Harmony was potty trained at a very early age. She wasn't someone that was bound by limitations, and you'll hear that when she lived with her mommy Michelle and her mommy Crystal, she was thriving. She was thriving in school. She was thriving with her peers. She was a child like any other. She was full of life. But that's just one description of Harmony, and I told you there are more. The defendant got custody of Harmony in February of 2019. At that time, she was only 4 years old. And the second description is darker. It comes from the 10 days before the defendant murdered her, and we'll talk about that more as we go along. The 10 days before he murdered her. In the second description, not the one where Harmony's thriving. In this one, she's scared. She's skinny. She's constantly exhausted. And she's bruised. At this point in Harmony's brief life, she's not able to control her bladder. She's not able to control her bowel movements. She's soiling herself. And during this period, the time when the defendant had her, those 10 days, she went from living in their home on Guilford Street at 77 Guilford Street to being homeless and living in a car, in the family's car. And when they were living in that car, those bathroom accidents got worse and worse, and they came more and more often. And you'll hear about the defendant's rage, this rage of the defendants that was building and building with each and every accident. And each time Harmony had an accident in that 10-day period, the defendant would strike her. that rage only growing, adding to that fear. And the next two descriptions come from the actions that the defendant took after he had murdered Harmony, after he beat her to death. You'll hear that she went from this little girl full of life, a girl that radiated happiness, that radiated joy, to a scared girl, broken, bruised. And from there she went to the dead girl in the duffel bag. And after that she went to the dead girl rotting in the ceiling that the defendant slept under for months. For months, as Harmony's body fluid, her blood, leaked through that duffel bag and was absorbed into that ceiling, he slept under her. That's what he did to her. That's what he made Harmony. His actions. Remember that as we go along. This case is about his actions. And those are the descriptions of Harmony. That's what the defendant made her before he disposed of her. Harmony was just 5 years old when the defendant beat her to death, but her story continues long after her death with the gruesome actions that the defendant took, the things that he did to her, the places that he took her. 3 people witnessed Harmony's death, her murder, and they survived. Her 2 younger brothers, one just 5 months old, the other 2 years old.